Coming up, a place you've probably never heard of.
We're approaching the Mission Ground Station at White Sands, New Mexico.
And never seen until now. ISIS, an enemy America and its allies are desperate to destroy. But fighting ISIS operatives means finding them first.
How does that work in layman's terms, tracking ISIS movements today in Iraq and Syria?
It's a tough problem now, much more so than it was 5 years ago, because we don't have a presence physically in Syria.
With no country, capital, or clear leadership, targets can be hard to come by. Late August 2014, this man became the face of ISIS.
Our knife will continue to strike the necks of your people.
In a terrifying series of videos, he graphically demonstrated the brutality of ISIS.
You now have 72 hours.
He was nicknamed Jihadi John and identified by his accent as British national Mohammed Emwazi. Fast forward to November 12th.
Senior Pentagon officials say they are, quote, reasonably certain that Jihadi John is a dead man.
Jihadi John, killed on a city street in the ISIS stronghold of Raqqa, Syria, struck by 2 missiles from U.S. and British drones.
It's a dangerous place for a human asset. But as I say, when you're thwarted in one direction with one particular discipline, you try to compensate for it in other ways.
Like operating from the safety of space, Jihadi John tracked, targeted, and taken out, all with the help
5, 4, 3
of spy satellites.
the ignition, and we have liftoff.
Hundreds of spy satellites help American intelligence find, follow, and fight terrorism. Of course, using spy satellites isn't new, but what they can do will surprise you.
They can sense, the same senses your body has.
Betty Sapp is the director of the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, and the satellites her agency launches and operates can see and hear, sense heat, even feel vibrations.
Think of what you used to do as a kid when we used to play near tracks, railroad tracks, and you could feel the train coming before you could hear it. You can hear it before you could see it.
Today's satellites can detect the use of specific chemical or radioactive weapons. Critical capabilities when it comes to monitoring global hotspots such as Syria and Iran.
Whether it's following signals or whether it's tracing weapons, whether we're making sure that the treaties that the U.S. has signed are actually being enforced. We contribute to all of those missions.
I imagine the Iranian nuclear agreement falls into that category.
We can contribute to that mission area.
To see where the data from SAP's agency is collected, we came here. A place you've probably never heard of. A place you've certainly never seen. Until now.
We're approaching the Mission Ground Station at White Sands, New Mexico. The very existence of this ground station and others in the U.S. was classified until 2008, and we're the first reporters allowed inside.
Inside this ground station, the place the NRO calls its brain. From this room, the NRO watches over the agency's satellites, checking their systems, receiving their data, and troubleshooting any problems.
What goes wrong? You lose touch with them? Or...
It's a piece of hardware with electronics on it, and just like anything can go wrong with your cell phone or your television set, that can go wrong. Bring them back.
Each satellite on Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Kreider's radar has an important job to do.
Every day we have a plan of what those satellites are going to collect, and if we get a call in real time where a crisis is happening, we have the capability to retest those satellites.
And how often does that happen? Is that a regular thing where you get a call to say, I know you've been looking over here, but I need you to look here?
I would say as often as CNN gets a breaking news story, we're there.
Satellites don't just collect critical data, they send it back to those who need it most, whether investigators in Paris or soldiers on the front lines.
I don't think there's a single American troop in harm's way that we are not watching over.
For every U.S. military unit deployed in harm's way, one or more guardian angels in the sky is watching them.
How quickly can you warn a warfighter on the ground if you see something threatening him or her?
We talk near real time, and it really is near real time.
Warning, for instance, of an IED or ambush up ahead.
I'm walking down a road in Iraq and you see something approaching, you can communicate immediately.
We can get information to units. We can get it to tactical vehicles as well.
To disable satellites, sophisticated adversaries like China and Russia may use missiles and lasers. But ISIS operatives use a much simpler way to circumvent spy satellites. They disappear completely.